show you next is a project from the Nampa Public Library. This whole section that we're doing right now is kind of focusing in on parents as the child's first and most significant teacher. And so, you know, this isn't something new. This is something we've been focused on now ever since, you know, even through Ready to Read. So, let me just get where we're supposed to be here. Okay. And before I turn it over to Nampa, we thought that it would be fun for you this afternoon with all of the information that is going to be coming at you to kind of thinking about that representation skill and communication skill. We put 2 pieces of our, construction paper per person on every table, and we want you to use it to kind of create a mind map of information. And a mind map is just, you know, when you think about your arrows and your, you know, connections, and it's just a way to kind of take notes that you could hang up next to your desk or in your area, and it's just sort of a visual representation of the stuff coming at you. You don't have to write down or represent every single thing, but if you have a great idea, like, hey, call, you know, it might be you could draw a little, you know, call Trisha bubble or something, and it's just a way to kind of come back. So use your markers, crayons, pens, and just kind of mind map the information this afternoon, because there is a lot of information, and this will kind of keep you active in processing that. Okay. So we have Tracy and Kaylin. That's what I was going to say, and then I thought that's not right, but it was right. Yeah. And also, as you're getting this information today, think about how it ties back into the Idaho Care and Early Education Strategic Plan, right? Because there's that huge parent piece. And you know what, actually,
We're not next.
you're not, oh, I messed up.
I was like, I'm not ready yet.
Can you not know that? Can you edit that out? I'm sorry, Nampa ladies. We actually are going to hear from Adrian. Adrian's back there going, wait a minute, I thought I was next. Sorry, I think I'm starting to get a little tired. I think the hot roast kind of did me in. Okay, so next we have Adrian. I'm so sorry, guys. We're ready for kindergarten. When we think about the child as the parent is the child's first and most significant teacher, one of the best programs that you can do if you're not, especially if you're not feeling comfortable doing your own parent workshops or coming up with the content, is to partner with Ready for Kindergarten.
Yep. There's a clicker. I'm going to find my marbles that I'll see everywhere.
Do you have your presentations?
I'm starting to lose it, folks.
All right. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Adrian. I am the project specialist for the Ready for Kindergarten program, which is a project of the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children. There we go. All right. So what is Ready for Kindergarten? Ready for Kindergarten is a parent education program, first and foremost. And that it was designed to address kindergarten readiness gap. So that's the idea that children who enter kindergarten behind tend to stay behind. So this was developed to sort of address that gap. It's also a collaborative effort that was created by child development experts, researchers, kindergarten teachers, early childhood educators, parents, all of the above. It's a research-based project of the Children's Reading Foundation, which is based out of Washington, and then they have partnered with the Kennewick School District. Ready is successful because it was created with a thorough understanding of how young children use brain research and developmentally appropriate practices. This is based on a lot of brain research. Researchers found that 80% of children whose parents attended Ready classes met the standard on assessments when entering kindergarten, as opposed to 55% of parents who did not participate in workshops. And that is coming straight out of a program up in Sandpoint. We have lots of workshops that we've been able to set up. This year especially has been one of our biggest years. We have been the recipient of quite a lot of grant money, so we've been doing our best to get ready in as many places as possible. But we are all over the state at this point, also schools and libraries. As mentioned, one of the main tenets of our program is that Ready values parents as a child's first and most influential teacher. We're all aware of that critical developmental stage of children ages 0 to 5, and the people who are spending the most time with them happen to be their parents or caregivers. The other main tenet of our program is that we promote playing with your children. So the idea is that we show parents how to play with their children with a purpose. Ready workshops show parents fun ways to play with their children that support their kindergarten readiness. And then the other amazing part of our program is that every workshop parents go home with a kit full of all the tools that support the activities that we show them in the workshops. Workshops happen 3 times a year, and we offer them for parents of children in 5 different age groups. So there's a 0 to 1 workshop series, so it'd be 3 parts in 1 year. So parents attending a workshop get 3 bags a year. So you can imagine if you enter our program with a baby, ages 0 to 1, by the time your child enters kindergarten, you've been through 15 workshops and gone home with 15 different kits free to you as part of the program. Ready was developed with a series of 26 different targets, and they're broken down, scaffolded for those 5 different age levels. Each of the targets begins at birth and then progresses in a developmental timeline up to age 5. And those targets are broken down in these 3 different domains for each of our workshop series. So the first domain is that language and literacy piece, math and reasoning, and then social and emotional. All of the targets live in these domains. And by the time the child enters kindergarten, these are the main things that they should be able to know and do. So knowing those 12 to 15 letters, identifying and recognizing those rhyming sounds, having a growing vocabulary, and then for math and reasoning, they should be able to count to 20, be able to sort by all different types of characteristics, be able to compare using those words more than, greater than, less than, equal, and then they should be able to make those 3-step color patterns and identify basic shapes, geometric shapes like circle, square, that sort of thing. And then critical piece to entering kindergarten are these social emotional skills. A child being able to settle in, that's kind of the idea of being able to be comfortable in an environment away from parents and people that are familiar to them. Being able to focus for something for about 5 minutes at a time, and then being able to follow those 1, 2, 3-step directions from the kindergarten setting. So I just want to walk you through kind of one of our targets, how it progresses developmentally through our program. This is target 3, which is matching letter shapes. So imagine a parent entering our program with a baby, 0 to 1. The first thing we show them is how to enrich the environment of their child by helping them see interesting shapes around their crib and home. This is laying that foundation for being able to identify and match letter shapes as they get older. So our facilitators would show parents some activities that would support this target. And then in the 1 to 2 workshop, that same parent would learn that letter shapes are made of 2 basic shapes, lines and curves. So we would show them some activities they can do with their child to help start identifying straight lines and curved lines in their environment, and just some different activities where they can kind of explore that concept. And then in that 2 to 3 workshop, we start to introduce the letter shape families. We introduce letters a little bit differently than some people when you learn how to be a teacher. This was different for me, but we introduce letter shapes by shape first and then name later, so that they can use some of that discrimination to see the similarities and differences between the actual shape before giving them a name. So the first letter shape family we introduce is this DMSTV letter shape family, which are all distinctly different. They're very hard to confuse with each other. So when they start to learn to match these letter shapes, they can be pretty successful with this. And then there's some activities there, making Play-Doh, letters and matching those cards and dough shapes, something that we would show parents how to do. And then in 3 to 4, they start to explore the letter shape families that are more similar. So you can see this ACEOS family. They're all a very similar size. They're kind of below that dotted line. They all have a curve. Some of the curves have clotheslines, some of them are open. So those are, we would show parents how to discuss those similarities and differences with their children as they learn to match these letter shapes. And then in the last workshop, 4 to 5, their children should have, they'll be reviewing all these letter shape families you can see, and learning that final letter shape family, which is KVWXYZ. And so there we've met that target of being able to match letter shapes. So that's just kind of an example of the progression of one of our targets through the program. So what does it look like to have a Ready workshop? It looks different at every location, but generally, you have to decide where you want to host it. It's been weird with COVID to have it in person or not. The program is designed to be implemented in person, but we've been able to adapt it to do it virtually. So you do have that option. If you choose to do it in person, that's ideal. It's a very hands-on program. We want parents to get in their kids, open up their tools, practice with them, and be excited to go home and use them with their kids. It's a little bit harder to convey that virtually, but we've made it work, so that is still an option. There's also an option to provide a meal. Sometimes that helps incentivize parents to come, and we do have the ability to reimburse for that. So this whole program should be no cost to you this year. But maybe you want to provide a boxed lunch to parents or families who come to participate, and then we can also pay for childcare if that's something that is interesting to you. And then you would just decide to where and how to set up your workshop and which age levels you'd like to offer. Workshops can be offered to parents with children in all those 5 age groups. A lot of places do offer all 5 workshops, but we also have places that offer maybe the 3, 4, and 4, 5. We've also seen schools maybe offer only the 3, 4, and 4, 5, and then the library will supplement with the younger ages, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3, so that everybody in that community still has access to the workshops. The facilitators are people that you select, so they could be staff members, they could be parent volunteers. It can be anyone. The program is fully scripted, so we do train the facilitators, and then they basically just read through notes and present the material. Facilitators are also paid. We're able to pay $25 an hour. So there's a 2-hour paid training, and any time they spend prepping for the workshop is paid, and then the facilitation of the 3 workshop series is also paid at $25 an hour. And those workshops happen 3 times a year. It could be fall, winter, spring. It could be the first Monday of 3 months in a row. It can work very different. You can make it work for your program, however that looks. Like I said, this year we do have lots of funds. We're trying to get ready wherever. If you're interested at all, this is the year, because it will be no cost to you. But I think it's a good reminder to just kind of break this down, because when we don't have, we have had years where we haven't had a fully funded program. We've had to partner and share the cost. So this is what it looks like. The learning kits, the orientation kit, paying for staff and a meal and childcare kind of averages out to about $232 a family. So this is a great opportunity to get in this year. This is what some of our kits look like. We have really high quality toys and materials that are included. A lot of the stuff is Melissa and Doug, because we want people to be able to use it multiple times, so we're trying to keep high quality materials in there that don't break after the first use. We do try to encourage parents to keep these as kind of a special, keep them set aside from the regular toys so that they can be really used on purpose, kind of be those special toys and tools that they use when they're playing with their kids. And then this year, Ready has added on a couple other options. So we have those, typically a workshop series is 3 parts. They've added a math kit and also a social emotional kit. Those could be added on to make your series go from 3 to 4 or 5 workshops, or they also function as standalone workshops. So if you wanted to just offer the math kit, the math workshop, as a single event, that's something that we can talk about, or the social emotional. These are designed only for the ages 3 to 5, so they're not for the younger groups. This is kind of a sample of what comes in the math kit. And then these are those new social emotional kits. And these are broken out into 2 different kits by age group. So the 3 to 4 age level and 4 to 5 are a little bit different. But it is kind of nice to have that option if you only wanted to do 1, or if you wanted to extend it to 5. If you're interested in hosting a Ready workshop, please visit our website. I kind of tried to put it up in red at the top. It's idahoaeyc.org/ready, and then you'll click on this orange button at the bottom. That'll take you to our workshop website. Click on, this is the homepage of our workshop, so this is where all the workshops that we're currently offering are listed and where parents and families can go to register for our workshops. If you click on the libraries tab at the top, there's a drop down that says host a workshop, and that'll take you to a form where we'll gather some initial information to help you get set up. Of course, if you are not quite ready for that, you are welcome to reach out to us. We can set up a Zoom conversation to maybe talk about some of the logistics of what it might look like at your library with your schedules and answer any other questions. You can email me or my director, Haley. And I hope that we get to see a lot of you. I've also wanted to say hi to Gooding Library, Cindy. I never said hi. And I don't know where Bree is. Bree, here, there you are. Okay. I know all these names, but we haven't been able to meet in person. So we do have workshops going at several of the libraries already. They're very fun. It's nice to see everybody in person. Did you have a question? They're open to everyone. You can decide if you want to have a limited amount. We never really do put limits because we just don't want to restrict anybody from the opportunity, but if you need to limit it, we can. It's pretty flexible, so we can kind of tailor make it for your particular situation. All right, well, thank you for the opportunity to present. I hope we get to see lots of you.
Thank you so much.
These are really high-quality workshops, research-based. Just really, I can't say enough good things about them and about Haley and Adrian. It is expensive per family if you have to pay for this. This is a great year to try to get in because of the grant. But also, if you're gonna, we have Kindergarten Readiness grants, which we're gonna talk about later today. That's another thing that can fund your Ready workshops, as you know, funding grant funds too. So, okay. So keep those in mind. If we also know that a lot of you are doing your own parent workshops, which is great to see, and there's lots of you who are doing those. One group that I wanted to feature, take 2, is Nampa Public Library. They started. Go ahead and come on up, ladies. They got a grant from us, a Kindergarten Readiness grant several years ago, to start these, and then they've kind of built on them over the years. And I'm going to have them show an example of, I'm featuring them because they have such a great resource in both English and Spanish. So a lot of you have been asking how to try to do that, and I thought this was a great example of how to do that. And this battery is about to die, so while you get set here, I'm going to switch off the battery.
I was wondering if I could talk loud enough.
Start
No? Because I have clammy hands, and the person that has to hold that microphone after me is not a lucky person. So anyway, all right, I had better start. I really wish that my supervisor, Laura Abbott, could be here today. No offense to other youth services supervisors, but Laura Abbott is the best. She's amazing, and she put this together, and I'm going to just explain a little bit about this. We actually received 2 kindergarten readiness grants. The first one was for fiscal year 2019-20, and it was for $15,000. And the second one was for the next year for $5,000. So the first one, practically Laura and Asia did this, another wonderful person in the youth services department. They created 20 kits on 10 different topics. So these kits go out to like Head Starts, preschools, and we switch them out like every month or however long the teachers want us to switch them out so that they're used in the schools. And we're also getting ready to kind of duplicate those, but make it a little bit more condensed for library checkout. And I won't go through the topics of the kits, but like I say, there's 10 different topics. And currently, these first kits, they're making into bilingual kits. So eventually, all of our kits from both of these grants will have a total of 40 kits, and they'll all be bilingual. So originally, they had planned a series of 8 in-person kindergarten readiness classes that encompassed these themes, and they partnered with 2 translators also in our community so that these workshops could be bilingual. But it was interrupted by the pandemic, so they did 3 out of 8 classes. Oh no. Here. No, you don't want it. Here, I'll hold it with a Clorox wipe. Okay. So they did 3 out of 8 classes, and then we were furloughed and all that stuff happened, you know about. So what they did, and what a lot of us did, is we went virtual, and they actually created these workshops on video, which we're going to share just a little bit of one in a minute. And so that was a lot of work, actually. I think it was more work than doing it in person, because to film a video, the script is written, props are prepared to show examples of how parents can model this information at home, and resources are recommended. They can access from our website via a link also that's in the video. Behind the scenes included filming and sound equipment, an operator for this equipment, an English-speaking staff member, and a bilingual English and Spanish-speaking translator, people fluent with video editing software, and a person who manages the website so that they can create the page with these resources. So anyway, that was a lot of work, but I think it's going to pay off, and these videos will be available on our YouTube channel by the end of spring. So we're excited about that. Let's see if we're going to take a little break here, I think, and watch the videos. Yeah, let's do that. So Kaylin's ready. She's going to show you some clips from one of these videos.
They're going over the color kit is what's happening.
They're going over the color kit.
Why don't you pause it for your clip in the corner? Didn't they do one like this? Yeah. Okay, we just have to be really quiet. Can you hold the mic up there? Stick the mic.
Did you want the closed captioning?
So they said hello.
It was, a lot of it too was coordinating schedules between the translators and us filming and the film person. So yeah, these videos have taken a lot of time, but we think they will be worth it.
And like I say, these videos were made because we could not do the in-person kindergarten readiness workshops, the remainder of them for the parents. So I'm just sort of just skipping ahead to a few parts here. So in the videos, of course, they demonstrated some activities that parents could do at home with their children. And Laura pretty much picked out all the topics for these kits, and every topic is different. So there's 20 different topics. The kits are duplicated so that we can have, 2 of each kit, 2 of each topic. And they're pretty extensive, the kits. And one of the, see, there's my alarm. I was gonna say, I'm gonna be done at 2 o'clock. So I'll just go ahead, since we can't really hear this anyway. We could probably just keep playing it. Is that okay if I just keep talking? After the parents are finished with the workshops or finished watching the series of videos, they will get a backpack, and the backpacks were bought, let's see, I think they were purchased from Dollar Days. And they're filled with like a school box full of supplies, notebooks, writing tablets. So it's pretty amazing. And we have, quite a lot of these to hand out after the workshops are completed. So that was part of the grant. And then just skipping ahead to the second grant, we also created the kits, of course. And the second grant was $5,000, so it doesn't, this is just a continuation kind of to add on to the first grant. It won't include the workshops. And a lot of the materials that we bought for the kids are from Lakeshore and Amazon, so just so you know that. We partnership with the Idaho State Department of Education. Sarah Seamount, she's the Migrant Education Coordinator at the Idaho State Department of Education, and she's going to be the keynote speaker in our video series. She was going to come in person to the graduation, but she's in the last video. And then Irene Shavala, she's a former teacher and former Idaho State migrant education employee who is now working as a consultant. So she was also very helpful with this. And then of course our partners are Head Start's Happy Day at Greenhurst and the Nampa School District, the New Horizon Dual Language School, and Nampa's Early Childhood Center. So there's a lot of different departments and schools and people that are all a part of this. And like I say, Laura Abbott pretty much, she did a lot of this work, most of it. And Asia was very instrumental in putting the kits together. And do you just want to, Lynn's just going to show you the kits real quick, or at least if you want to look at them in more detail, you can. But
We will also. These are the kits. We go to different Head Starts and preschools at least once a month. We keep them bilingual because Nampa has a pretty big Hispanic population. And so in each kit, we have books in English and Spanish. And this kit is feelings and emotions. We have other kits dedicated to like the smart stuff like numbers and letters and colors. But we also have the kits for emotions and communication. So we'll have, thank you. We have these lists that explain everything that's in the kit just for inventory purposes, but we also have the suggestions of activities to do at home, which is what Asia and the translator were talking about in the video that you couldn't hear. And that's for parents or for teachers to do once they return the kits. And so
in English and in Spanish.
In English and in Spanish. There's kits, games, puzzles, how we modified it for Spanish. Like this game, you have an emotion and then you're supposed to make that. And so it's already printed in English, so we went ahead and added stickers for everything. That way you also have the Spanish version of it. And I'll show you the fun one. This is I Can Act It Out, communication-based kit, and it's designed for play. So you get your puppets because you can be a vet, you can be a firefighter, you can be a police officer, you have activities to do at home if you don't necessarily have props, and it encourages you to use loose items around your house, like what we talked about yesterday. And there's also an axe. Yes. Now, this book and this kit in particular, it's designed for communication, and I know this book looks like it's in Spanish, but thank you. It's actually a wordless picture book, which is great for kids to learn to communicate. Yes. Okay, that's good, right?
All right, so my alarm went off. I think it's probably 2 o'clock. But I really, there's a lot of details here. Laura said feel free to contact her and she'll share anything with you, share all of this information. But we wanted to just give a huge thank you to the ICFL. We would not have been able to do this without them. To complete a project with their support and of course monetary, but not only that, but just their support all around. I'm sure you guys are familiar with how well they do, with how well they help people. And thankful they had the foresight to offer this kind of a grant. And we think it's really going to benefit the early education in Idaho. And I think that's it. Is that good? Any more? Okay.
Any questions for Tracy and Kaylin? I'm sure you'll have that, but.
Here, I'll take this.
All right, thank you.
This has been a really huge undertaking for them, several years. So, you know, when you're thinking of grant projects, you can think big. The kindergarten readiness grants are in increments from $1,000 to $10,000. And then you can get continued funding for up to half of the original grant award. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about grant projects and the grant application a little bit later today. So thank you, Nampa. And one of the things that, you know, one of the big, it's a great project, but we scored it pretty high because they're gonna be making these videos available to everybody. So you don't even have to do the work. You can just, you know, direct your, if you don't have something already in video form, you can use these. Everyone will be able to use them, and they're in English and Spanish. So, and a great example of partnering, you know, the different partnerships that they've used. So, okay, so great job, you guys. And I know others of you also have parent workshops and other things you do. I just kind of threw a picture up here of Meridian because, again, this was another grant project that started off in person, and then they applied a couple of years later for continued funding to make it virtual, make a virtual option of it. And so when you go to their YouTube channel, it's very similar to Nampa in that you can come and pick up the materials in person and use the materials at home then to watch the video. And the video kind of takes you through. And here they've got, see it's cutting off at the top, but Gabby and Barbara from the Meridian Library. So others of you that anybody else want to share, if you have videos or the way that you're doing parent workshops? Anybody want to share?
Kindergarten All-Stars at Meridian isn't a parent workshop.
Kindergarten All-Stars in a Box started out as an in-person kindergarten readiness program, but it's actually just for kids, for the children that are entering kindergarten. And it focuses on like scaffolding curriculum for them. So you guys have all got me thinking of, should we have the parents in the kindergarten workshops too? Because I think that's important. But it's kind of similar to this where it's videos with skill building, like learning to use scissors. And at the end, they can take home a school supply kit. And what we did, similar to Kia, reaching out, figuring out who was underserved to kind of target registration for that program. You know, we used Head Start and who we knew, but we also looked at school supply lists specifically so that the school supplies that were added to the prize at the end that they got to take home for completing the program were what they were going to be needing. And we knew that it was targeted to underserved groups that way.
Okay, anybody else want to share about parent workshops that they're doing, or? Okay. if you want to share later, we'll have a few other opportunities as well. And Mary, you're actually on
I'm
next. So that's a good segue.
Cool.
I invited Mary to speak today. Let me just, we'll do it again here. Let's do this. I invited Mary to speak here today because I have a lot of questions from folks on if you're going to do all these big things in your library and you have patrons who are, they want that quiet space and that traditional library setting, and you've got maybe other staff members who are, not having the same idea about scaffolding that we have. So how do you stress the importance of what we're trying to do here, not just through the youth services team, but throughout your entire staff, your decision makers, your director, your trustees, and your community? And so Mary's going to talk a little bit about what they've done at Meridian.
Hi, again, I'm Mary, taking it from the top. Mary Firmino, Youth Services Supervisor at Meridian Library District on Cherry Lane. And I am going to talk to you about what Meridian did to integrate early learning in our strategic plan, with the ultimate goal of getting buy-in from staff, the community, everybody, because it's important for everyone. So you all know, being here at a youth services library conference, that early literacy is a core library service. But I think what can happen and what Stacey wanted me to talk about today is just that, sometimes early literacy at any library could be like a famous storytime program, and then if that staff person is no longer with the library, that program goes away with them. So what we did, so no matter what size your library is, because Meridian's pretty big with multiple locations, and I'm going to talk about how we integrated early learning into your strategic plan, but I also want to kind of talk about how that could be possible for smaller libraries too. And getting staff buy-in to advocate that it is, core to every library. So I'm going to tell you why early learning is core to library service, and that's what we've been learning here these last couple of days. What we did to integrate early learning into our strategic plan and what we've done since then, and then also what about smaller libraries. So why? Early learning should be embedded into the culture of the library for all the reasons that we're learning here. We learned about, with our keynote speaker, how much brain development occurs between 0 to 3, 0 to 5. Libraries are free and they're community hubs. And in a state like Idaho, where we don't have state-funded preschool, we can do a lot. So we want to make sure that early learning programs happen in the library, regardless of the staff or the administration, etc. So it's crucial to fostering success later in life, and like I said, we're community hubs, so we're well positioned to offer these types of services and resources and connections to community partners as well, like Idaho AEYC and Idaho Television, just in terms of knowing our families on the front lines and what they need, and making connections to other resources in the community that can help them, formally or informally. Okay, really busy slide here, but this is all about what Meridian did. So in the blue panel, that is actually our early learning goals straight from our strategic plan with community impact and strategies. But basically, the goal is so our strategic plan is from 2021 to 2025, so fairly short time frame. And our second goal in the strategic plan is to improve early literacy, so to take on a community-wide initiative. So it's increase early literacy in our community. And so what we did is, and like I said, we're a multi-location library. So the first thing that we did And I should mention, the strategic plan was also developed like during the pandemic. So programs and services, we've had to get creative and things are limited to in person. But the first thing that we did was formed an early learning committee with members from across the district. So Rachel is at our Silverstone branch, and so we'll definitely have people from Silverstone. We have tons of people from the outreach department, youth services. It's not just like our department at a specific location. We're all coming together to the first thing that we did was evaluate current and future programs to ensure strategic relevance. So that sounds kind of boring, but we basically we said we know the importance of early learning, and we want to take a look at all the programs that we're doing and make sure that they are having the impact that we want them to have. So we had a rubric that rated those programs, and we decided, based on staffing and timing, like what's the most important here to keep, what's having the biggest impact. And then something else that we did was we held focus groups with community partners. So I'm on Region 4 REC committee, so I definitely got the parent or the infant toddler person that I know on our REC committee involved, the Head Start person, and just came up with questions. It was really interesting what came out of those focus groups this summer, and a lot of it was about, asking questions like, what do you need from the library? Or what can we help you do? And I wish I could pull that up and tell you some more of the questions that I asked them, but a lot of it was about basic needs during the pandemic and kind of all the trauma that everybody's been facing. So it was surprising. And also something interesting that came out of those focus groups was like, the stereotypical idea of the library, even from partners, in terms of, maybe you should host outreach because when parents go, it's hard to get to the library, so we know that, but like also there's this stigma of the library that it's a quiet place and that we don't want our kids to make a mess or damage anything. And so I definitely remember talking a lot in that focus group with partners, who are doing home visits to families, saying, we play is learning and we want kids to play at the library, we want kids to be kids. But changing that, that's all about what my presentation is about too, is like embedding early learning and play as learning into the culture of your library so that everyone understands and everyone can help meet that goal. So anyway, we also provided early literacy training and professional development for all library staff across the district, regardless of department. So Jenny, who's here today, was on our staff development committee, another committee, and the early learning committee and the staff development committee worked together to bring presenters this year that were focused on early learning. Jennifer Redford came and gave a 15-minute awesome elevator speech about how anybody working in public services can do letter recognition with kids and how simple it can be. And even if you're a page out in the stacks, you can still promote early learning with the kids that come through. So that was awesome. And so everybody, I think we got some pretty good feedback, but it was exciting to get that buy-in and share, a little piece of youth services with all of our staff. And then another activity that we did was kind of like what we did here during this conference. We looked at the Idaho State Strategic Plan for Early Learning, and we just did a really simple exercise as our committee, and we read through the plan together, and we came back in a month and we said, okay, what are we already doing that's in this plan, and what ideas do you have reading this plan? Like, should we form a collaborative, etc. So that information that came from all these different activities will inform our early learning 3-year plan. So that's kind of all the logistical, strategic stuff that we did with early learning through our committee. So this kind of formal stuff, and maybe you're a small library and it's just one youth service staff and your director, and that's it. So you wouldn't have a big early learning committee. But maybe that's possible. I mean, you could get creative and share with the rest of the staff at the library, definitely the director and your trustees, about the importance of early childhood and all the brain development that happens, and talk to them about integrating that into your strategic plan if you have one. So that's what I mean when I say make it strategic. And making it so that it remains a strong component of the library's culture. And then involve all library staff. So, I think professional development with all library staff can really help with that. So those are some of my ideas, and I'd love to hear from you too about what smaller libraries are doing to make sure that it becomes a part of your culture, because I think it's not just a story time, it's these play programs. And I think, again, going back to like the stereotype of libraries being quiet and tidy and organized, like breaking that, like working, advocating to break that a little bit. It's okay if you make a mess, it's okay if you rip a book, that type of thing, and helping all the staff at the library understand that that's based on research. So yeah, that's sort of what I have to say about that. And my final thought here is that early learning is so important for everyone, because that's where we do most of our learning in that stage of life, and libraries are everyone, or libraries are for everyone, so that kind of goes hand in hand. Go ahead, Maggie.
So the goal that was to improve early literacy, what did that come? I assume all the regular stakeholder meetings and community surveys, but did that come from a certain data set that got that put in there, or?
How did it make it into our strategic plan? That's a good question. I wish I could ask someone from our strategic planning committee, because I wasn't on that and I may not have been here, but
Okay.
Oh yes, yeah, Alice.
And
Alice
the
report.
IRIs of your schools that you serve? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so, but I wasn't on the committee.
Okay. That's okay.
Good question. Hi.
You said that you contacted kindergarten teachers that they're lacking. There seems like a lack of. Do you do a survey or just email them? How did you go about that process of contacting kindergarten teachers?
So for our focus groups that we did, where we talked about needs, I actually went through the REC committee for my region and talked to those partners. But for our kindergarten readiness program that I talked about sitting over here before informally, it was just based on where are my first book sites and our needs assessments for knowing where we would apply for my first books, and then knowing that we would target through Head Start and where we, younger siblings of students at those My First Book sites, where we've already done that demographic research for that program. I think that was part of it. Good question. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.